The last part of foundational testing is keyboard navigation. And this is this does require live code. So if you have things again on your local machine during daily work or in staging or really in a production environment, really anywhere that there is live code, you can spot check for keyboard navigation. And what we're looking for here is ensuring elements like links, buttons, form inputs, radio groups, checkboxes, select menus can receive keyboard focus. We want to test that those elements will receive focus and that also they behave as we expect them to. In our case, that means they should have the yellow focus halo, the element that's under focus. If it's a link, I should be able to press the return key and activate it. If it's a button, I should be able to press return or spacebar and activate it. Radio buttons behave with the arrow keys. Checkboxes check and uncheck with the spacebar, those types of things. The good keyboard navigation does take a little bit of getting used to, but the good news is it becomes pretty routine. It becomes pretty not routine, but you build those mental pathways quickly. If you're like me and you like to fill out forms using your tab key or shift plus tab, you're already halfway there. The last item I'm going to talk about is keyboard navigation. And I've jumped to a different page. This GI Bill school feedback tool is one of my favorites because it's a multi-step form. It has lots of different input types. And so I can test the full spectrum of keyboard navigation. And sometimes I like to do 2-for-1 testing. I'll go ahead and zoom the layout into 150 or even 200%. I'm going to reload the page. Yeah, I'm going to reload this. So I start at the very top. And I'm just going to use, so now I'm not navigating at all with the mouse. I'm just using the tab key to move forward one focusable element at a time, or shift plus tab to move backwards. I always expect our skip to content link to be the first thing I see on the page. If I press the return key, it jumps me down into the content. So now if I press tab again, I can jump right to the sign in. I'm going to actually start this without signing in because that works better. All right. Now, because we are in application flow, we have short-circuited the keyboard focus a little bit and set it on our heading level 1, and that's by design. We always allow users to go backwards and step through the breadcrumbs if they want to, but once you're in application flow, we really want to just focus on moving through the pertinent parts of the application. So if I press tab again, you'll see the yellow focus halo is on this radio group. And because I'm in a radio group, I can now use my arrow keys. If I press down or right, I move to the next radio button. If I press up or left, I should move to the previous radio button. And these interactions are codified with our forms library. So as long as you're using our standard forms library and standard components, you should never have any problem with these standard keyboard interactions not working correctly. So I'm going to, I want to submit this on behalf of myself. So I'll press the tab key again to get out of the radio group, and I'll press tab again. Because these are buttons, the back and continue are buttons, I should be able to press return or spacebar and have them advance me to the next step. So I'll go ahead and press space this time. I don't have a prefix. My first name, I'm Trevor. My last name, and if I were a service member, I would say other. My service affiliation is other, and I'm going to say continue. And this time I might press the return key instead of spacebar, just making sure they both behave the way I expect them to. If I want to interact with a select menu, once it has focus, I can press spacebar and return to select an option. And I'll just put in a when I'm doing QA testing like this, I put in what looks like real data. It's what I like to call real fake data, not anything exact, but I mock the data that appears on the screen. And sometimes I also like to go ahead, while I'm tabbing through this form, I like to go ahead and trigger the error messages once in a while just to make sure they're firing, and also to make sure I can navigate backwards. So if I press Shift plus Tab, I've now stepped backwards instead of forward, and I can put in a valid email address and to the next page. Now I'm involved, or now I'm going to be interacting with a group of checkboxes. And checkboxes are individual inputs. If I press Tab, I can move to each individual one. And if I press the space bar, I can toggle and or I can check and uncheck individual boxes. So I can move back and forth, and I'm only going to select one. I used federal tuition assistance and move forward again. All right, so now I'll search for a school. I'll press Tab and space. Okay, my focus is still on the search schools. Anytime I have a new interaction, or I've changed something on the page, we either need to make sure focus stays on the element that initiated the action, or we need to manage focus and move it somewhere else and let users know something has happened. So I'm actually going to hit page down to move down a little bit. And it looks like I'm in a group of radio buttons. So I'll go over to the arrow keys, and I'll do Ohio State main campus. I can cycle through the pagination, not too interested in that. And I'm going to say financial concern. And I'll just keep cycling through, and I'll enter. Once I enter into a text area, I should be able to just enter in some text. All right, this last page where we have our accordions, our more information accordions, these should be available to toggle open and closed by return and by spacebar. So I'll try that with both of them. Hit spacebar a few times, hit return a few times. If I want to edit information, I should be able to do that. I can update the page, and I should just be able to reach all of the information with a keyboard that I can do with a mouse. If there are things I cannot reach with a keyboard, that's going to be a problem for anyone who uses a keyboard or anyone who uses assistive technology like a screen reader or Zoom text or Dragon Speaking. And I won't go ahead and submit the application, but if I were a real user and this was a real feedback session, I would go ahead and I would press return or spacebar on this submit application, and I would consider this form well tested for keyboard navigation at this point.